Over the past week, federal authorities in Arizona have made headlines by charging 173 individuals in connection with immigration-related criminal conduct. These charges, ranging from unlawful reentry to smuggling of migrants, shed light on the continued intensity of U.S. immigration enforcement. The operation, conducted over a span of just a few days, underscores the federal government's ongoing commitment to tackling illegal immigration and criminal activities associated with it. This action highlights a growing trend of aggressive law enforcement, particularly in border states like Arizona, where immigration laws are being stringently enforced. The charges filed reflect a clear pattern. Federal authorities are intensifying their focus on the criminal aspects of immigration violations, such as those who illegally re-enter the U.S. after being previously deported or those accused of facilitating the smuggling of migrants across the southern border. The sheer number of individuals charged in such a short time period signals a major push in enforcement efforts and raises significant questions about the future of U.S. immigration policy. But what does this crackdown really mean? And what's driving this increased enforcement? As Arizona and other border states remain the focal points of national immigration debates, the ramifications of these charges extend beyond the courtroom and into the heart of the country's immigration policy. Before we dive deeper into the details of this operation, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with all the latest developments in this and other true crime stories. You won't want to miss what's coming next. To truly understand why 173 individuals were charged in Arizona, we need to step back and look at the broader context of federal immigration laws and the consequences of violating them. Immigration law in the U.S. is clear and, in many cases, unforgiving. One of the most significant offenses related to immigration is unlawful reentry. This occurs when someone who has been previously deported or removed from the U.S. illegally re-enters the country without authorization. Under U.S. law, this is a federal crime and carries serious consequences. Individuals found guilty of unlawful reentry can face steep fines, long prison sentences, or both. In some cases, those found guilty of re-entering after being deported face even harsher penalties if they had previously been convicted of serious crimes. Another common and increasingly problematic immigration offense is smuggling. This is when individuals are accused of bringing migrants into the U.S. illegally, often for profit. Smuggling operations can range from individuals who simply transport migrants across borders to larger, organized networks that profit from moving people in unsafe and sometimes inhumane conditions. Smuggling charges are also treated with high severity in the U.S., especially when those involved are seen as part of criminal organizations or larger trafficking rings. The penalties for smuggling include prison time, substantial fines, and the potential for asset forfeiture if the operation involves larger smuggling enterprises. These offenses are part of a larger strategy by federal agencies to deter illegal immigration and ensure border security. Federal authorities, particularly those based in states like Arizona, have been focusing heavily on criminal immigration violations to prevent illegal immigration from becoming a system that undermines U.S. law. By targeting unlawful reentry and smuggling operations, U.S. authorities hope to send a message that illegal immigration will not be tolerated, and those involved in criminal activities related to immigration will face the full extent of the law. In this context, Arizona has become a key battleground for immigration enforcement. The state shares a long border with Mexico, making it a primary entry point for migrants attempting to enter the U.S. illegally. As a result, Arizona regularly sees high levels of immigration-related offenses, both from individuals trying to cross the border without authorization and from criminal organizations smuggling people into the country. These ongoing challenges have placed Arizona at the heart of the national debate on how to balance border security with the humanitarian issues that come with immigration. So, when 173 individuals were recently charged in Arizona, it was not just a matter of random enforcement. It was part of a broader, more systematic effort to reinforce immigration laws, disrupt smuggling networks, and ensure that those who break these laws face accountability. The situation in Arizona reflects the ongoing struggle between maintaining national security and addressing the complex realities of immigration in the U.S. Between December 6th and December 12th, 2025, federal authorities in Arizona launched one of the most intense immigration enforcement operations of the year. In just 7 days, 173 individuals were charged with a range of immigration-related crimes, marking a major escalation in federal efforts to combat unlawful immigration and associated criminal conduct at the border. This operation was not a singular action, but rather the result of a concerted, multi-agency effort aimed at cracking down on criminal immigration activities that have long plagued the region. The operation involved several key federal agencies, each playing a distinct role in the enforcement process. The U.S. Attorney's Office was at the forefront, handling the legal aspects of the operation, including filing the charges and pursuing prosecution in federal court. Alongside them, U.S. Border Patrol agents were instrumental in identifying and apprehending individuals suspected of unlawfully crossing the border or re-entering the U.S. after being previously deported. Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, played a crucial role in investigating and targeting larger smuggling networks, ensuring that those charged were part of organized criminal operations. The fact that such a large number of arrests and charges were filed within such a short period emphasizes the urgency and intensity of this operation. Federal authorities were not only focused on traditional immigration offenses, but also sought to disrupt and dismantle the criminal networks that enable and profit from illegal immigration and smuggling. These groups, often operating with little regard for human safety, contribute to the ongoing challenges at the southern border and are viewed by law enforcement as major contributors to the broader immigration crisis. The speed and scale of the operation reflected the federal government's commitment to tackling immigration-related criminal activities. It's clear that the U.S. government is continuing to escalate its enforcement strategy, prioritizing immigration crimes as a means of deterring future violations and maintaining order at the border. While Arizona has long been a key location for such operations due to its proximity to Mexico, this week's actions send a clear message. The federal government is not backing down in its efforts to control immigration and prosecute those involved in criminal conduct related to it. The large-scale operation raised several critical questions. Was this just the beginning of a broader initiative to ramp up immigration enforcement across the country? How effective would these actions be in deterring illegal entry or smuggling? And, perhaps most importantly, how would these charges impact the lives of the individuals involved, some of whom might not have been aware of the legal consequences of their actions until they found themselves in the middle of a federal investigation? This week of enforcement highlighted the high stakes involved in immigration enforcement and the growing focus on criminalizing immigration violations. With the 173 charges now filed, Arizona's role as a central hub for immigration law enforcement has only become more significant, and the outcome of this operation may very well shape future enforcement strategies in the years to come. The 173 indictments filed in Arizona over the past week reflect a broad spectrum of immigration-related offenses, each carrying significant legal consequences. While the exact details of the individuals involved vary, the charges generally fall into two primary categories: illegal reentry and smuggling. These offenses not only highlight the complexity of immigration law, but also underscore the federal government's strategy to target the most serious criminal behaviors at the border. One of the most common charges filed in this operation was illegal reentry after deportation. Many of those arrested were accused of attempting to re-enter the U.S. after having been deported previously. Under U.S. law, anyone who has been removed from the country and attempts to return illegally is committing a federal crime. For those who have been deported due to criminal convictions, the penalties can be even more severe. Illegal reentry is one of the most prosecuted offenses in immigration law, as it is seen as a direct violation of federal policy aimed at controlling immigration and maintaining border security. Individuals charged with this offense can face severe prison sentences, fines, and other penalties, depending on their criminal history and the specifics of their case. Alongside illegal reentry, another major charge was smuggling migrants across the border. This is a serious offense that can involve transporting individuals across U.S. borders illegally, a charge that often reflects a much more complex and organized criminal activity. Smuggling typically involves transporting people across international boundaries for financial gain. These operations can range from small-scale individual acts to large, sophisticated smuggling rings that profit by facilitating the illegal entry of migrants into the U.S. For those charged with smuggling, the legal consequences can be devastating. Convictions often lead to lengthy prison sentences and hefty fines, as the government seeks to dismantle criminal organizations that exploit vulnerable migrants for profit. What makes the smuggling charges particularly troubling is the human element involved. Smuggling operations often place individuals in unsafe and inhumane conditions, with little regard for their well-being. This has led to increased concerns over the safety of migrants being smuggled across the border, many of whom face serious risks of injury, exploitation, or death during their journey. As a result, smuggling charges are not only about law enforcement. They also reflect the humanitarian issues at the heart of immigration enforcement. By targeting smuggling, federal authorities aim to disrupt these dangerous networks and reduce the harm caused to migrants seeking a better life in the U.S. Both illegal reentry and smuggling charges carry serious legal consequences and are part of a broader effort by the federal government to enforce immigration laws at both the border and within the U.S. interior. These offenses are viewed as critical to addressing the root causes of illegal immigration and human trafficking, which continue to be major challenges for U.S. authorities. While immigration policy remains a contentious issue, one thing is clear. The federal government is determined to hold individuals accountable for these violations, sending a strong message that border security and immigration law enforcement will remain a top priority. The rapid escalation of immigration enforcement in Arizona, leading to 173 charges in just 1 week, was not the result of a single agency working in isolation. Rather, it was the product of a coordinated effort between several key federal agencies, each with their own specific role in the operation. The collaboration between these agencies is a testament to the growing importance of interagency cooperation when it comes to tackling illegal immigration, smuggling, and human trafficking. One of the most critical agencies involved was Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, division plays a central role in locating, detaining, and deporting individuals who are in the U.S. illegally. In this operation, ICE agents worked in conjunction with local law enforcement and other federal entities to apprehend individuals accused of illegal reentry and smuggling. Their expertise in tracking individuals with immigration violations, including those with criminal backgrounds, was essential to the operation's success. By collaborating with other agencies, ICE ensured that the operation was carried out efficiently and that charges could be swiftly filed in federal court. Another crucial player was U.S. Border Patrol, the agency responsible for monitoring and securing the U.S.-Mexico border. Border Patrol agents are on the front lines of immigration enforcement, often intercepting individuals attempting to cross the border illegally. Their involvement in this operation was particularly important, as many of the individuals charged were suspected of having crossed the border without authorization or of being involved in smuggling activities. Border Patrol agents were able to identify individuals who had unlawfully entered the U.S. or were facilitating the illegal movement of migrants, helping to build the cases that led to federal charges. Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, a division of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also played a significant role in the operation. HSI specializes in investigating complex criminal enterprises, particularly those related to human trafficking and smuggling. In this case, HSI agents focused on dismantling larger, smuggling rings and identifying those who were organizing or profiting from the illegal movement of people. Their ability to track these criminal networks and gather intelligence on their operations was key to understanding the scope of the crimes being committed and ensuring that the appropriate charges were filed. This multi-agency collaboration reflects a broader strategy employed by the federal government to address the growing challenges of illegal immigration and trafficking at the southern border. By pooling resources, intelligence, and manpower, these agencies can more effectively target the individuals and criminal organizations responsible for facilitating illegal entry and movement across U.S. borders. The coordination between ICE, Border Patrol, and HSI illustrates how serious the federal government is about enforcing immigration laws and disrupting criminal networks. This integrated approach ensures that enforcement actions are not only swift but also strategic, targeting the most pressing issues along the border. The cooperation between these agencies is crucial in combating the complex web of illegal immigration, smuggling, and human trafficking, which has been a persistent issue for years. As these agencies continue to work together, it's clear that the U.S. government is committed to using every available resource to strengthen border security and ensure that those who violate immigration laws are held accountable. This operation in Arizona is just one example of how federal agencies are tackling the multifaceted problem of illegal immigration with a united front. While the 173 federal charges filed in Arizona paint a broad picture of the federal crackdown on immigration-related crimes, it's the individual cases that truly offer a deeper understanding of the complexities of these prosecutions. Behind each number, behind each charge, there are real people, some driven by desperation, others involved in organized criminal activities. The stories of these individuals provide a glimpse into the range of behaviors that lead to such serious legal consequences, as well as the human impact of these law enforcement efforts. One case that stood out involved an individual who was caught trying to smuggle migrants in the back of a truck. This case wasn't just about an illegal border crossing. It was a prime example of smuggling, a much more complex offense with dangerous ramifications for both the smugglers and the people being transported. The individual arrested in this case was allegedly transporting migrants from the border into the U.S. interior in unsafe conditions. The back of a truck, packed with people, is a risky and often deadly way to transport individuals who are fleeing their countries for a better life. These people are often vulnerable, and their safety is routinely put in jeopardy by those who see them as mere commodities to be moved for profit. The smuggler in this case, arrested and now facing charges, will likely face long prison sentences for his involvement in such a dangerous and illegal operation. His story is a reflection of the dangerous trade that exists within illegal immigration, where profits are made, but at the expense of human lives. Another notable case involved an individual who had been previously deported after being convicted of a serious criminal offense. This man, whose name has not been disclosed, was found to have re-entered the country illegally after his deportation. He was caught attempting to re-enter the U.S. despite a history of criminal behavior. The man's case reflects how individuals with criminal records or prior legal violations can complicate the immigration landscape. In many instances, those who are deported after committing crimes are barred from re-entering the country legally. However, when these individuals attempt to cross the border again, the stakes are much higher. In this case, the individual's prior criminal convictions made the offense even more serious, as illegal re-entry after criminal deportation can result in lengthy prison sentences and severe penalties. His story serves as a reminder that immigration violations don't just involve people seeking better lives. They also intersect with broader criminal justice issues, complicating the enforcement landscape. These individual cases show that immigration-related crimes go beyond the simple act of crossing the border unlawfully. They involve organized smuggling rings, criminal networks, and individuals who make life-threatening decisions, either out of desperation or for profit. They also reveal the complexity of the system, where immigration laws intersect with criminal law, adding layers of consequence for those involved. Whether it's a smuggler endangering lives for financial gain or an individual re-entering the U.S. despite a criminal history, these cases reflect the serious legal consequences that follow such actions. The human element of these stories is often lost when we focus solely on the numbers. 173 charges, hundreds of individuals arrested. but it's these personal stories that underscore the profound real-life consequences of immigration violations. Each charge represents a decision, an action, and often a desperate attempt to escape circumstances far beyond their control. As law enforcement agencies continue their crackdown on illegal immigration, it's essential to remember that behind each arrest and each charge are individuals whose lives have been shaped by difficult choices and who now face the legal system's consequences. The 173 federal charges filed in Arizona have not only stirred legal and law enforcement communities, but have also ignited significant debate and discourse across the U.S. The public and political reactions to this large-scale immigration enforcement operation reveal just how deeply divided the nation is on the issue of immigration. While some strongly support the crackdown, others see it as an overreach that unfairly targets vulnerable migrant populations. On one side of the debate, supporters of strict immigration enforcement argue that these types of actions are absolutely necessary to protect national security and maintain the integrity of the U.S. immigration system. For them, these charges are a sign that the federal government is taking serious steps to uphold the law and discourage individuals from crossing the border illegally. The argument is simple. Without strong enforcement measures, illegal border crossings will continue to rise, and the nation's immigration laws will be weakened. This view often emphasizes the importance of securing the southern border, cracking down on smuggling operations, and preventing illegal reentry, especially by individuals who have committed prior crimes. From this perspective, the operation in Arizona is a necessary step to deter unlawful immigration, disrupt criminal organizations, and send a message to potential border crossers that the U.S. will not tolerate violations of its immigration laws. However, there is a growing backlash from critics who argue that such large-scale operations disproportionately affect vulnerable migrant populations who are simply seeking a better life. For many, the charges filed in Arizona are a symptom of a broken immigration system that criminalizes those seeking refuge from violence, poverty, or political instability in their home countries. Critics argue that the federal government's focus on prosecution and deterrence only punishes individuals who are fleeing hardship and are often unaware of the legal consequences they face for crossing the border illegally. From this perspective, the federal enforcement actions are seen as a heavy-handed response that targets the most vulnerable, including women, children, and families who are seeking asylum or a chance to build a new life in the U.S. Some also raise concerns about the broader humanitarian implications of these actions. Are we, as a society, willing to criminalize people who are often escaping violence and poverty, simply because they crossed the border without proper documentation? What happens to the children of those who are charged, or to the families who are left behind when their loved ones are arrested and deported? These are questions that many activists and immigration reform advocates are asking, as they call for a more compassionate approach to immigration enforcement, one that considers the human costs of such large-scale operations. The political fallout from this operation is also significant. On one hand, immigration hardliners, often aligned with conservative viewpoints, champion the aggressive enforcement tactics as a victory for national security and the rule of law. On the other hand, liberal voices and immigration advocacy groups view these actions as an example of overreach and inhumane treatment of individuals simply trying to escape dire situations. This debate is a microcosm of the broader national conversation about immigration, where the U.S. is deeply divided on how to address the issue of border security, immigrant rights, and humanitarian concerns. As the political discourse continues, one thing is clear. The operation in Arizona, with its high-profile charges and sweeping enforcement tactics, has become a flashpoint in the ongoing battle over U.S. immigration policy. The challenge moving forward will be finding a balance between securing the border and ensuring that the human rights of those seeking refuge are respected. The debate is far from over, and as more enforcement actions take place, it's likely that the lines will continue to be drawn more sharply on either side of this deeply polarized issue. As the 173 individuals arrested in Arizona face federal prosecution, the broader implications of this massive enforcement operation are far from settled. While the legal outcomes of these cases will unfold in the courts, the questions surrounding this operation remain complex and unresolved. The outcomes of these prosecutions will likely vary, but what is certain is that they will have significant consequences for both the individuals charged and the federal immigration enforcement landscape. One of the most pressing questions is, what will the legal consequences be for these individuals? Will they face lengthy prison sentences for their roles in smuggling or reentry after deportation? Or will they be given lighter sentences or alternative forms of punishment, such as probation or deportation, as part of the federal justice system's approach to immigration violations? These legal decisions will have a ripple effect on the enforcement of immigration laws across the nation. For many of the individuals involved, their fate will depend on a range of factors: past criminal history, whether they were involved in a larger criminal enterprise, or if they had any involvement in smuggling migrants for profit. How each case is handled will ultimately reflect how serious the federal government is about imposing penalties for immigration crimes. Another important question is whether these arrests will deter future illegal immigration, or if they will simply lead to new methods of entry and smuggling. In many cases, law enforcement crackdowns on illegal entry have led to criminals adapting their methods, finding new routes, and changing their tactics to evade authorities. It is possible that, rather than eliminating smuggling or illegal crossings, these efforts could push smuggling rings and illegal border crossings to become even more sophisticated and harder to detect. Criminals often learn from previous operations, and there are concerns that these arrests could drive migrants and smugglers to find new ways to enter the U.S. undetected, further complicating the challenge of securing the border. The continuing enforcement actions in Arizona are also part of a broader, ongoing narrative about immigration and border security. These actions raise significant concerns about how the U.S. will balance national security with humanitarian considerations. The enforcement of immigration laws is often seen through the lens of security, ensuring that those entering the country do so legally and safely. But the human element cannot be ignored. How do we reconcile these efforts with the human rights of migrants seeking better opportunities, safety, and a chance for a new life? The tension between these two aspects will continue to shape U.S. immigration policy in the years to come. This operation also raises significant questions about the long-term implications for both migrants and law enforcement agencies. For migrants, the consequences of being caught up in these operations can be life-altering. Some may face criminal charges, imprisonment, and permanent bans from re-entering the U.S. Others may be deported, separated from family members, and left with fewer options for legal immigration in the future. For law enforcement, the ongoing challenge will be not just enforcing immigration laws, but doing so in a way that is fair, effective, and sustainable. Will these large-scale enforcement actions be enough to stem the tide of illegal immigration? Or will they lead to a cycle of heightened enforcement, shifting criminal tactics, and increased strain on the U.S. immigration system? The legacy of this operation will be shaped by how well the U.S. can address the long-term challenges posed by immigration, smuggling, and the legal consequences for those caught in the system. As federal agencies continue to coordinate efforts along the border, one thing remains clear. The path forward will require not just tough enforcement, but also a nuanced approach that considers the human consequences of these policies. The future of immigration enforcement and border security remains uncertain, and it will take ongoing dialogue, policy shifts, and innovative solutions to address these deeply rooted issues. And that wraps up our deep dive into the federal immigration-related charges filed in Arizona. From large-scale arrests to the human stories behind the headlines, this operation has sparked intense debate about how to balance border security with humanitarian concerns. As the legal battles unfold, we'll be watching closely to see how this case impacts future enforcement and immigration policy. If you found this story insightful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Real Crime Saga for more in-depth stories about real-life events, criminal justice, and the ongoing challenges we face as a society. We'll keep bringing you the latest updates and analysis on these complex issues. Stay tuned for our next video, and until then, stay informed and aware of the world around you.